all my life I've been caring for others. And that's how it's always been, being brought up. You're brought up and taught how to care for others, and you have to care for others, and you always have to put others first,
Yeah.
especially your family, especially your parents.
Yeah.
So that's when, the money asking from my family started as well. Because I never told them that I moved here to Sydney and I was doing that job. I never
Yeah.
told them. I
Yeah.
kept it all away from them. But then I put up on Instagram, and the only social media that I have that they're not on at the time was
Was
Instagram.
yeah.
And I had posted something up, and I never look at who views my stories, but for
Yeah.
some reason my gut was telling me, look at who's viewing your stories. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I was viewing, like I was scrolling, and then I come across somebody with the same last name as me. And I was like, I was so tense. Like, I was like nervous. I was like, what is going on? Like, is it one of my family members? Like, it could be my sibling. Like, I don't know. Clicked into it. And just as you know, it's my little sister, like the youngest one after me. And she messaged me and she's like, oh, I see you're doing well. Where are you? And I'm like, and me having in my bio Sydney,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm just, living life, enjoying my life, working, earning money. And as I was like talking to her, I was going into my bio to try and delete Sydney off it. And it was too late. She had already seen it. She told my parents. After I got off the phone with her, I started getting the messages like, oh, you didn't tell us that you were, you got a new job. You didn't tell us that you moved out of, your adopted parents' home. You didn't tell us you moved to a new country. You didn't tell us that, you're earning more money. And I was like, there's a reason why, and that's when they started asking me like, hey, so and so is having like a katoanga, or they're having a luku, or they're having like, everything just started coming like left, right, and center. They just started telling me all of this. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad that you're telling me that that's what's happening, but what do you guys want? Like,
Yeah.
it was never, I never asked them like, what do you guys need? I only asked them, what do you want? Because for so many years they never spoke to me. It was
Yeah.
never a, hi
Hey.
Dora,
Yeah.
how are you,
Yeah.
I miss
Yeah.
you. It was never
Yeah.
that. My family only contacted me when they wanted something. And like, I know for like other people that would watch this, they'd be like, some of you guys might think like, oh my gosh, she's a bitch for saying that. But like, it's true. That's
Yeah.
how it is in our culture. In our
Yeah. Yeah.
culture, I'm not saying all Tongan families do it, but I will sit here and I will honestly say that majority of Tongan families out there will just contact you because they want something. Not because they
Especially,
need something, but
es-
because they want something.
especially if you're overseas and they're back at the island, it's more that happens a lot
Yes,
more.
especially if you're in
Yeah.
especially if you're in a foreign country and they are back home in Tonga, in our
Hmm.
island home,
Yeah.
they will contact you only on the basis of not caring about what, how you are or anything like that, but on the basis because in their mind, they're only thinking they've got a job, money grows in trees there, they can get money just like that. Like they
Yeah.
will snap their fingers. It's like magic. That's what
Yeah.
they will think. It's like
Yeah.
magic. They will
Be a
get money
millionaire.
just like that,
We're millionaires.
Exactly. They exactly, that's what they think. And yeah, and that's when I started, like, I gave in at first. I just kept giving them little by little and stuff until when I moved out, and I moved into my own apartment and stuff. That's when I figured out, like, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Like you, like I'm literally running myself high and dry.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
giving everything. I'm getting exhausted for working like
Yeah. Yeah.
2 to 3
Yeah.
jobs on a daily basis, like not having rest, having
Yeah.
to, kill myself for this, for earning money to provide for them and myself. And it's not
Yeah.
healthy. It wasn't
Yeah.
healthy on me.
Yeah.
I lost so much weight. Like
Yeah.
when I was in New Zealand, like that's when I started putting on weight. And like I never saw myself as a chubby person, but I liked myself as a chubby person. Like when I saw myself, I was like, "Ooh, I like myself." And then you go back to Tonga, and they're like, "See, okay, I got fatty." Like, whakaholo and all this and that. They're like, "Ay, okay, guess you see," and everything. I'm just like, I can't please any of you guys. Like, I'm either too skinny or I go back and I come back and I'm too fat, or I go back
Yeah.
and I come back and I'm too skinny. Like, it's always that. Like, you will never be able to please anyone or everyone. But yeah, so like going back into it as well, like I started telling myself, like, Maria, you need to stop what you're doing. It's unhealthy. It's not good for your mental, for your mindset. Like, my mental health went all over the place. I started getting
Yeah.
depressed a lot as well. Again, depression and stuff kicked in a lot again as well, because I had to start thinking of providing for other people on top of like how to survive on my own, how to like survive for myself and how to earn stuff for myself. um and then that's when, I think the year after, that's when my mom messaged me and asked me to pay my brother's school fees. um it was exactly how I said it. I was just
Yeah.
like, one, you didn't ask, if you had asked me like how I am and stuff. Two, if you had asked me nicely about it, then that would have been a good, a better way of approaching the situation. And three, if I had the money, I would have helped you. And then
Yeah.
I turned around and I was like, and I turned around and I said, no, I don't have the money, I can't
Hmm.
help you. And yeah, and my mom she went off. Like, my phone, I literally slid my phone across the room. I was like, I'm not gonna hear this. And because it was on speaker,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I swear to God, like, I'm pretty sure my neighbors could have heard her like
Yeah.
yelling through the phone, telling me like she started like saying really hurtful things that
Yeah.
you would never expect anybody to say to anyone. Like, she started off by saying, "Tahine tae offer,"
Yeah.
she was like, "Na uhanga o, I brought you up like this and that," and she was like, "Pake alu ko ia o maho o ngā ue," earning so much money, and she's like, "You don't love us." She's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
ke te whanga mai koe, ki ho'o family and stuff."
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
"You don't love your brother and stuff." I'm just like, and when she was like saying all of those hurtful things, I kept trying to cut through, like, to try and
Yeah.
like say, "Mom, no, 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 I love
Yeah.
you, you
Yeah.
don't understand,
To
I
hear
do
your
love you."
side. Yeah.
Yeah, to hear my side. But she just kept going off and off and off, and I was just like, I just sat there and I just took it. Like, I was like, and in my head I was like, you knew you were going to go through consequences. You didn't think that this is how badly it was going to be. But, but I was like, I was prepared. I prepared myself for it. I was like, I need to start putting myself first. I was like, that's when self-love started coming in. I was like, how do I go about it? Like, how do I end my mental health, my depression, my anxiety? How do I end any of that? So when I said no, like, I expected my mom to get all angry and stuff, but I didn't expect her to turn around and disown me.
Yeah.
I didn't expect her
Yeah.
to turn around. Like, she turned around and she was like, from now on, never ever contact me. She's like, you're not my daughter. You never was. She's like, she was like, you're the worst person that I could ever, she was like, I never believe, she's like, I couldn't believe, I can't believe that I gave birth to you, all this and that.
Yeah.
It's really hurtful things, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
really, really things. And so I was like, okay, I didn't cry at all in front of her. I held it all in, and then once the phone cut off, I bawled my eyes out. Like,
Yeah.
I think I would have cried for like 2 weeks straight, nonstop. It was bad. Like, I had put myself into this bubble where if anybody tried to talk to me, I would have just turned around and be like, go away. Like, go away. Don't talk to me. I ended up hating the world because my mom disowned me, because I stood up for myself. And there was no like phone calls or anything like saying I'm sorry or anything like that. Nothing. Up until now, I still haven't gotten a sorry from my mom. But I put it all in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forgive, and I like, you will never forget, but you will forgive.
Yeah.
But it still lingers in the back of your mind now and then. But yeah, but doing that, like, for whoever, for all of you Tongan women and men as well, like our Tongan, younger Tongan generation, it's hard to say no to your parents, because you won't expect, you know the outcome. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. Like, who knows? Some of your parents out there might turn around and be like, okay, I understand,
Yeah.
but that's highly, there will
Yeah.
be some that will be like
Yeah.
it, but majority of them, if they're like very like Tongan mindset, like how everyone
And
is in
and there's
Tonga,
yeah.
it's
And they're still
going to
living
be,
in
yeah,
Tonga,
it's gonna be,
and they're still living in Tonga. There's yeah.
they're still living in Tonga, yeah. So they're still in Kolomotua. Um, but yeah, it's don't be scared to stand up. To stand up for what you believe in. Don't be scared to voice out your opinions. Don't be scared to say no, because at the end of the day, if say for example, say for example, like, because I've had this before where one of my cousins was the one that always provided for for her family, and she ended up losing her life because she couldn't put up with it anymore, and because she
Yeah.
never stood up for it as well. And I was in that position too, where I started thinking suicidal thoughts. Like when my mom disowned me, I started thinking like, I'm such an ungrateful daughter. I was like, I literally just broke my family. I hurt my family. Like I blamed myself for loving myself. I was like, I never should have put myself first. I should have always just kept the way that I always, that I was brought up and stuff. So like, yeah, I went through like those moments as well. But it got to the point where it was either me ending, like I thought to myself, I sat back and I really thought to myself, there are other people out there. Like if I was gone from this world, yeah, they would sit down, they would be upset, they will cry and all this and that, but then life will move on. My parents will find one of my other siblings to ask for money. If they weren't going to get it from me and they weren't going to get it from me anymore, they would get it from one of my other siblings, because I'm not the only one that lives overseas. So like, yeah, so that's when I thought to myself, like, stop it. Like, stop beating yourself up about it. Like, you can't control every situation. You can't force your family, your parents to understand that it's hard. Like, it's hard having to earn for yourself and for them, because they were brought up differently, back in the days. And back in the days, things didn't cost so much. You build
Yeah.
your own, you build your own fale, and that's it. It's your fale. You don't
Yeah.
have to, pay for electricity or anything like that. Like, that's it. Like, that's how it was back then. Until society decided to bring in, the government, and having to bring in money into it, and all of this and that, and but yeah, just the biggest thing is like, self-love is way more important than having to please everyone, because you are right. If you're not happy within yourself, then how are you able to make other people happy? If you're not happy and you're not
Yeah.
living your life, you need to live your life in order to know that you are able to help others in a different way. It doesn't necessarily have to be money all the time, but like, you can please other people in different ways. But the sad truth is, from our Tongan community, is the only way that you can please them is by showing money, flashing
Yeah.
money in front of them.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you can please them. But that doesn't mean that you have to fall into that category of abiding by that. It's not a law, it's not a rule, it's not a contract that you're binded with. It's just their mindset, and that's just how they were brought up, and that's how they bring you up to do, to think as well. But it doesn't mean that you have to sign your life away to please others. Like, you need to live and you need to survive for yourself. So yeah, so tough, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough, but don't be scared to like say no.